saying on Easter morning, sign up in the lobby or talk to me or Karen for sure. There's a power for good in this universe greater than we are, and we can use it. There's a power for good in this universe greater than we are, and we can let it use us. Today's topic is be still, then move. In order to access that power for good in the universe, we need to do that. We need to be still, wait for our guidance, and then be willing to move. Our first step is that going inside, that listening, that knowing that we will be led and guided. And then, of course, we need to step out and move. We need to take action. We need to get involved. We need to do what we are guided to do. Here's what Reverend Trish Hall from CSL Metro in Washington, D.C. shared. In order to access strong new beliefs that have the power to shatter old faulty ones, we must enter the stillness, consciously releasing habitual thought that filters our perceptions. It is in the uncluttered simplicity of stillness that we receive as revelation what Dr. Holmes calls reality, insights into what is possible, glimpses of the richest, fullest, most joyous experience of our life, and how we can attain it. In the Hebrew Bible, in Psalms, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know that I am God. So who or what is your God? Now, for some of us, we grew up in a teaching that made God seem like an old man in the sky with a long beard who was checking on us to make sure that we were doing good or bad, kind of like Santa Claus. And hopefully most of us have gone beyond that. But it's important for us to know who and what our God is. I recently heard a story about two older gentlemen, a black man and a white man, and they were best of friends. They had been friends for years. They loved the same sports teams, they loved the same movies, and they shared politics, and even liked the same kind of barbecue. The only thing they didn't agree on was God. Now, the black guy, he, of course, was convinced that God is a black man. And the old white guy, as you may have guessed, thought that, God certainly has to be a white man. And so they never agreed on that. Well, it just so happened that they died at on the same day and arrived in heaven at the same time. Now, St. Peter said, since you two are such good friends, you get to go in and meet with God together. And so go wait over there, and we'll let you know when it's time to go. So the two old guys were sitting there saying, finally, we are going to know who's right. But they sat there kind of nervously, just 'cause. And finally they were ushered in to see God. And as God turned to greet them, she said, "Buenos dias, señores." "Buenos dias, señores." So, it's kind of important for us to recognize who and what God is to us, because that's so important, especially as we are still and know that I am God. Now, Ernest Holmes tells us that stillness comes through our spiritual practice, through meditation and contemplation and prayer. Here's what he had to say. Spiritual experience is deep, calm, and self-assertive. It is the result of actually realizing that presence which binds all together in one complete whole. This experience comes in the stillness of the soul when the outer voice is quiet, when the tempest of human strife is abated. It is the quickening of the inner man or woman to an eternal reality. And if we want that kind of magic stillness in our soul, we get it through our spiritual practice. We get it through giving ourselves the gift of spending enough time with the divine that we can realize and feel that presence that is all around us, that is in us, and that connects us all. So first we get to be still and remember God. And then be still and remember who you are. Because this isn't just a God that's out there somewhere. This is a God that lives in, through, and as each one of us. We're expressions of the divine, expressions of spirit, the infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. But it lives in, through, and as us. We're created according to an idea in the mind of God. And we are made out of the very substance of God because there is nothing else in the universe for us to be made out of. Each one of you here is an expression of the divine. It is chosen to incarnate as each one of us on this planet at this time because it couldn't do it through anybody else the way it can do it through each of you, each of you. Jean Houston said, there is extraordinary encoded within each of us waiting to be released. There is extraordinary encoded within each of us waiting to be released. And so after we get still and remember who we are, then we can get still and remember why we are here. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath and to kind of listen inside to that voice of wisdom. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions, but what I want to say first is that Spirit speaks to each of us in different ways. If you don't get words in response to these questions inside, don't worry about it. Make something up. Make up the best answer you could possibly think of for these questions. So now, take a big breath. Settle in. Close your eyes if that's comfortable. And listen to that still, small voice of wisdom that lives within you, however it speaks to you. Why are you here at this time and place in the history of your family? And in the history of our country, and in the history of our world. Why are you here? What gifts have you come to bring? What special gifts have you come to bring? What kind of extraordinary is within you waiting to be released? What kind of extraordinary is within you waiting to be released? So just kind of take note of those answers of what you've gotten, because you may want to revisit that later, because those are gifts that have been given to you by Spirit. And I am so glad that each one of you are here bringing your gifts, bringing your flavor of extraordinary to this community, to our world at this time when we are needed so very much. Be still, then move. After stillness, it's time for movement. Once you're clear about who or what your God is, who you are and why you're here, then it's time to act on that. Because in this process of getting still, we are given direction as to what's next. How is it right for us to move in this world at this time and this place. And we're not alone doing this. Ernest Holmes tells us about the inner power that moves us. He says, by some divine interior awareness, call it what we will, there is an intuition within us which pushes us forward. There's some spark which has never been entirely extinguished. The prayer of faith and belief, communion of the soul with its source, fans this spark into a divine blaze in whose light dark shadows no longer lurk. So there's this spark, this intuition, this inner awareness that pushes us forward, that leads us. And as we remember that, we get to take even more advantage of it because it energizes us. And we know that it is unlimited. We know that Spirit is not going to stop providing us with all that we need. So if we've gotten still and quiet in prayer and meditation, let me tell you, folks, we can trust the guidance of the divine. I think all of us know the difference between hearing that voice inside that tells us just that convenient thing that we want to hear. And then there's the voice that tells us the truth. Now, sometimes we want to hear that too, of course, ideally. But there's a difference in that voice. And I think each of us can recognize that difference. Each of us can recognize that difference. And then when we're guided to act, the next steps are up to us. We're the eyes and ears of God, folks. We're the hands and the feet of God. We are the voices of the divine on the planet at this time. And we are the only way God can get things happening in the human, earthly plane. It is up to us to move as we are guided. And in order to act on that guidance effectively, we get to trust that it will always be there, and trust that all that we need to follow our guidance has already been provided and will continue to be provided. It's not going to quit. Now, there's a thing though, and some of you might not like this, and there are times that I don't like it, but often we're only guided a step at a time. We don't get to know the whole plan. We don't get to know the whole journey. We're given a step at a time. And it is up to us. I mean, that's where this trust piece comes in. We have to trust that even though I'm only told this next step, I'm going to continue to be led. So one step at a time, we're often guided on a need-to-know basis. One of the slogans of our teaching is change your thinking and change your life. Now, it can be looked at a couple of ways. One is change your thinking, and everything, of course, around you will change and will be up-leveled. And another way to think about it is as instruction, change your thinking and change your life. Do them both, because if we truly change our thinking, then we will be changing the way we act in the world. We will be changing the way we show up. We will be changing the way we feel joyful and grateful. And so we can trust that the universe will give us what we need, but we have to act in a way that shows that we have accepted what it is that we want to call into our lives. So I'll give you an example. Maybe you have prayed for and begun to change your thinking about financial stability. Okay, now it's up to you to act. It's up to you to act as a financially stable person would. Look at your finances, look at your income, look at your expenses, and think about it. Would a financially stable person have finances that are orderly or in chaos? Maybe I'll get to that stack next year. Would a financially stable person be spending money that they don't have on their credit card? Probably not. But our teaching, the science of mind and spirit, tells us that we need to not only kind of think about things, but we need to think about things and be convinced enough that we are going to go out and act in the way that is proof that we believe it's going to happen and we're ready for it, absolutely ready for it. Now be still, then move. This, I have to tell you, this has been a challenging talk for me to write. Because as I've been working on it, I mean, throughout the whole time I've worked on it, it's been, okay, how can we apply this? How can I apply it in my life? How can we apply it to the aftermath of the most recent shooting in Florida? I mean, how do we put this together? Be still and then move. How can that apply to stopping the massacres in our schools and theaters and nightclubs and churches? Now, of course, we can get still and surround all of those who are impacted in love and compassion. We can absolutely do that, and that is so important. But what else? What else can we do? I remember the absolutely helpless feeling. And God speaks to us in many ways. God speaks to us in many ways. And that's one of them. So, are you listening, folks? I remember the absolutely helpless feeling of trying to comfort my cousins after their child died at Columbine. And let me tell you, I never, ever, ever want to be in a position where I need to comfort one of you because your child or grandchild or niece or nephew or some loved person has been a victim or a shooter in a massacre at a school or someplace else. I don't want to do that. It's time for us to make some changes. Time for us to make some changes and to act. It's been heavy on my mind that our generations have not made this place, this world, a safe place for kids. We haven't. And I'm loving seeing that the kids are standing up and saying, okay, we're going to make some changes. And I can hardly wait to see what happens. I mean, I can hardly wait to see what happens. I don't have the answers, but I have a couple of suggestions, and I have some questions, just some questions to think about. And later, if you want to share your thoughts about this with me, I would love to hear them, First suggestion is talk to a young person about what's happening. If you have not yet done that since this last incident, I encourage you to talk to somebody 25 or younger. Now, keep in mind that if you talk to somebody who is still a teenager, somebody who is under 20, they will have never remembered a world without school shootings. It will have been something that has happened all throughout their lives. But talk to them. Now, I had a conversation, actually a fairly lengthy text conversation with my great nephew yesterday about this, and he's a brilliant young man, and I don't just say that because he's related to me. I mean, this kid really is smart. I mean, he graduated high school last year and already had completed 2 years of college. So when he started college in the fall, he started as a junior, and this amazing kid wants to be a math teacher. I mean, I've seen him with his little sister, his patience, and I've seen his drive and his passion for teaching. And he was extremely concerned about the possibility of teachers being armed. This is a peaceful kid, a peaceful man, and he doesn't in any way want to be responsible for possibly killing someone, taking responsibility for somebody's life. And I think you would agree with me that what we want our teachers and what we want our kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews and all of the kids to be armed with, those who teach, we want them to be armed with their knowledge and their skill. We want them to be armed with their passion for teaching. And that was what kind of got my great-nephew, Quinn, the most. It's like, oh my goodness, are they going to expect me to shoot somebody if I'm a teacher? I just want to teach math. I just want to teach math. So talk to them. Ask them how they feel, what they think about what's happening. Ask them what they think should be done to solve the problem. So some questions for thought. And this first one is really important. Do we believe there's a solution? Do we believe that there's a solution? Do we want to make protecting our children a higher priority than it obviously has been? I mean, we say it's a high priority, but, to look at what's happened, that doesn't seem real clear. And what should be our response? Is it enough to simply read quotes from Ernest Holmes? I mean, I love Ernest Holmes, don't get me wrong. But is it enough to do that? Or as spiritual people, as spiritual leaders in our communities, is there more that we are called to do? So what do you think? You think there's an answer, a solution that can work in our country? Because whether we think there is or not is really important. In our teaching, it is done unto us as we believe. If we believe that there is no solution, what are we setting ourselves up for? Now, I don't have any answers. There are so many ways to look at this. But what I know is that I am willing to believe that there's a real solution. I'm willing to believe that our country can find a solution that will keep kids safe. And I absolutely believe that it may be a solution that has not yet been revealed, but is in the process of being revealed. I mean, there are so many solutions in this big, wide universe. We're not limited to what I can imagine or what you can imagine. There's this intelligence that is working on behalf of us, that is providing what we are willing to take. And so I'm willing to believe that there is a solution. And basically, the best thing I know how to do is to start with prayer. And so what I can do is I can remember that there is only this one power that is in, through, and as all of us, everyone. I can remember that because I am part of that, I can claim that there's a solution. Whether it's a solution we know about now and we'll all come to agree on, or a solution that is yet to be revealed, is being revealed to us as we breathe, as we pray, as we speak. I claim that there is a solution. And I am grateful that we are open to it. I claim that people all over our country, our leaders, our kids, all of us are open to receive the revelation of a solution to this problem. And so we open. And we have our willingness. And we have our tool in spiritual mind treatment, in prayer. So I can pray. And then you know what? It is up to me, after I've gone into that stillness, After I've gone in and listened and asked, okay, what's mine to do? It is up to me to do it. It is up to me to treat and move my feet. Treat and move my feet. If enough of us believe a solution is possible, we will find it. If enough of us are willing to get still and listen and then follow the direction that we are given, we will make a difference. If enough of us decide to create a world that works for everyone, we will create it. We will. It's up to each of us. So, are you ready to believe with me, to be willing to believe with me that there's a solution?
Yes.
Good. Are you ready to treat and move your feet? I'm going to ask that one again, Are you ready to treat and move your feet?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, well, with that, I invite all practitioners to stand with me in high consciousness, and we will move into prayer. Grateful, grateful, grateful. Grateful that we are not limited by what we are experiencing now. We are not limited by what we know now. Grateful that there is a greater answer, a greater solution for us in our lives in any area of conflict or challenge. There is a greater solution for our country. There is a greater solution in our world. I'm so grateful that there are those of us who know and who are dedicated to creating a world that works for everyone. Because we remember that there's only one of us here, just God. God in all its forms, in its beauties, in its challenges. We are one family. We are one people. And so what I claim is that as each one of us goes forward this week, we are guided. We are drawn to move into that stillness. Drawn to ask, what can I do? Drawn to be willing to look at new solutions. Willing to listen to others with respect. And so I claim that as we do this, that this movement of listening and respect simply grows. As this movement of hearts opening to new solutions simply grows. And so I claim that we are led to do what is ours to do. We are guided, we are energized. Whether it be prayers, blessings, marching, writing letters, whatever. All done in the name of love. In the name of love. And so I state my willingness to move as I am guided. I state my willingness to open my mind to a greater truth than I have even imagined. And I absolutely claim this for each of us. I'm so grateful that all that we need has already been provided. I'm so grateful that the law of love acts on the words I have spoken, acts on the words that come from each of our hearts, making a greater and grander world for everyone. And so in my gratitude, I simply let it go. I let it be, knowing that it is good. And I invite you to say with me, and so it is.